subject or topic, if you like, the factors that contribute to the cost of food prices in Ghana. In fact, this morning on our business briefs, we looked at what these factors are, but I think that this is an opportunity to gain much further insights, into the situation. Now, from an economic standpoint, what would you say are the main factors that drive the persistent, and the operational word here is the persistent rise in food prices in Ghana?
Okay, thank you for having me on your show, and good morning once again to all your listeners. Food is something that all of us eat every day, and in economics, we say it is an autonomous consumption. Whether you like it or not, you will definitely eat. If you don't eat, you will not exist. But to what extent should food prices be? Should it be very high? Should it be very low? Or should it be moderate? I guess everybody will want the food prices to be a little bit moderate, especially for those who sell. And for the consumers, they will want to be in between the moderate and the lower prices. But those who actually sell the food will want the food prices to go up, because when the prices are up, it is expected that the revenue is going to increase. So that is the key debate that we have to be looking at. So fundamentally, you will notice that there are push factors, and that actually have an impact on food prices. So what are the push factors? You will realize that every individual or every consumer is interested in the food. So as demand of the food goes up, basic economy tells you that the price will also definitely go up. These are the demand and supply forces. So if the suppliers are also not supplying much food, you realize that you have more people looking for the food, but little of it is going to be available. And what simply that means is that prices are going to be going up. And that is how come that you will see food inflation price going up. It's because of the demand factor. And in the basket of the computation of the inflation, you realize that food is a key component, one of the key ingredients in the computation of the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index. So you realize that the food factors could be an imported factor, or it can be a domesticated factor. When it's an imported factor, it means that currency volatility is a very key determinant of the driver of the food price. So you will notice that last year, when the cedi appreciated by about 40%, you will notice that food prices were a bit stable because of the, especially imported goods and services. The prices were a bit stable. So the argument is that anytime you have your currency being volatile, meaning that you don't have a stable currency, that instability in terms of the currency will have a direct impact on the food prices, because prices like rice, most of the rice that we consume in Ghana, we import it. Even though we produce a lot of locally rice here, we also import rice from outside. So because we import rice from outside, so when there is depreciation of the cedi, then it means that the rice price is going to go up. And the cooking oil is mostly not even manufactured in Ghana. We import a lot of it from Burkina Faso and other places. So when the cedi is volatile, or when the cedi is depreciating, it means that oil prices are going to go up, which means that anybody who buys the oil to produce, to cook food to sell, the person is going to incorporate the rise in the cost of the oil into the production of the food, which means that the food price will go up. Then you also know that agricultural inputs come from outside, like fertilizer, agrochemicals, etc. All of these come from outside. And whenever you have a volatile currency, it has a direct impact on the agricultural commodity that the input that comes from outside. So that can also influence the producer price of the food. So in terms of production, you're going to have that impact on food prices. Now, that's notwithstanding just the volatile nature of the currency. You also know that we have structural inefficiencies in the system where the government is supposed to make provision for, let's say, storage facilities, that are supposed to make provision for the road networks to where the food basket is being produced, etc. And also they are supposed to create silos for storage of the food, etc. So when you don't create silos for storage of the food, it leads to post-harvest losses, and that can have a direct impact on the nature by which the prices of the food can go up.
Okay.
And also, if the roads are not accessible, it's difficult to go through that.
Absolutely. Doc, I mean, before we continue on the tangent of the structural inefficiencies, you talked about these push factors mainly as a result of the kind of imports that we make, and for that matter, the stability or otherwise of the currency that we have and all that. You spoke to the one side, which is probably if you had a weaker, or a highly volatile, currency situation, you don't have stability in your currency, that could impact, the prices of the food that you have. The other side of it, if you flipped, the coin to the other side, one would expect that if for other factors your currency is also appreciating, there should be some downturn to the existing trajectory that you're going. Is that what we see in this country?
So, in this particular country, when prices are up and there are even government intervention that is allowing the cost of production to be low, the individual is wanting to continue to have higher profit, will want to continue to stay at where they are. They don't want to come down. Even if they want to reduce their price, they do their price reduction in a very marginal impact. So the attitude of the seller for a profit motive attitude is leading to some of these inefficiencies that we are seeing in the system. But because government is not having an integrated data system that is able to capture the kind of import of goods and services that we have, who imports and who sells what. And government do not have control over prices. People price their goods and services based on their own way of doing things. So if we have a body, a consumer protection body that is interested in regulating prices of food products in the country, then you realize that people cannot price too much above their marginal cost, which means that if you price too much above your marginal cost, what that means is that you're going to be earning more profit than you should have been earning. So once you have that kind of checks and balances in place, we can set a profit that is reasonable for everybody. That's fair for everybody. If you go to most of the advanced countries, you realize that because government have a centralized data system and a control over what happens in the market, you realize that people cannot just price anyhow. They have to fall within a particular category. And competition will force you out if you want to price anyhow. But here, we don't have that centralized system. Government is not able to control anybody. The demand and supply forces are left. In developing countries, we are supposed to have a very much control system because we don't have much resources. Not most of our people are actually working and earning good income. So we should be able to do that. But the developed countries are able to even do that better than us. If you look at even transport costs, you realize that when transport costs go up and petrol prices come down, the drivers don't want to come to bring their prices down. They'll bring another excuse and tell you that spare parts, etc. They'll bring all kinds of excuses and tell you that.
That is the source of worry, Doc. That is the source of worry. I mean, granted that, a more or relatively controlled system would have been much more beneficial for a developing country like ours. Even if, and I'd just like to take you back to that original conversation, that even in the market where it's about demand and supply, as you're rightly saying, I mean, if the factors are against the system, i.e., if your currency is depreciating, and for that matter, the cost of imports and all that are going high, and so you eventually have prices increasing. Again, one would expect that when your currency is now appreciating and the cost of bringing in these products and stuff like that are decreasing, one would expect to see, a certain downward trend when it comes to the cost. My question is, Doc, why do we have this kind of situation on our hands, and how can we fix that?
I've just explained to you why it is so and what government must do. If you have a centralized consumer protection system or society, then government can do a control. So that you know that, okay, fine, these are the number of people we have for this particular product. So when that is done and the data is turned out, competition exists. But you notice that this person don't know the other person also don't know the other. So because of that, competition don't really come on board. And consumers don't know where to locate the goods. So if you don't know where to locate a particular good, you would think that this is the only person existing. And for that matter, any price the person charges, you buy the good at that particular price. So what we need to do is that we need to have a centralized market system at different places where the commodities are made available in real time for consumers to have access to. So when consumers have options, then what that means is that prices are then brought up to a particular minimum level for everybody to compete. There's going to be a competitive pricing for consumers.
That's right.
But when it is not so, competitive pricing cannot happen. So we need a very strong market integration. If you have a very strong market integration, I believe that this particular problem will be solved.
I'd just like you to just deepen that point again. This centralized market system, which would come as a result of the market integration that you talked about. What are the specific steps that we can take that would lead us there?
So if you look at, I think the MPP regime, they were of the opinion that they want to go and use some buses and carry food items. They bring it to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture around that area. People should come there and buy the food at a particular lower cost. So why will it be an incentive for me to travel from Pokwasi to come to the Ministry of Agriculture to buy food at a lower cost? Look at the cost of traffic. So why don't you say, okay, fine, for people in Amasama, etc., you can buy we can bring the food closer to you at this particular place. For people in Medina and so we can bring the food to you at this particular place. For people in Kaswa and Co, the food can be here at this particular place. For people, you understand the point. When you are able to do that, this aggregation with the supported government system, coupled with the support of the private sector, you're not going to have any challenge on this.
Well, I hope that, the government is listening. The Honorable Minister for Agric is listening very attentively. The Honorable Minister for Trade and Agribusiness is equally listening. And I believe that the other associations and agencies would also be listening to this so that we can take a peek at it and make sure that the ordinary Ghanaian is not unduly burdened with such a trend which is not helpful to our cause. Now, you had attempted to talk about the structural inefficiencies that we have in our system. I think it will be a good time now to be looking at that.
Yeah, so I spoke about high transport costs, especially in bringing the food from wherever after it's produced to. And the fact that we don't have storage facilities, we don't have as I already spoke about integrated market, so the integrated market is going to help us to be able to do so. So if the government, the Ministry of Agriculture together with Trade Ministry can collaborate, I believe that this integrated market system can work. so that we can. You know that Ghana. It's not that Ghana doesn't have a basket of food. The problem is about coordination, how the ministries are able to coordinate among themselves, and how they are able to implement their policies in a much more coordinated manner, such that their policy coordination can lead to the alleviation or can lead to the alleviation of the suffering of the people, of the masses. When you don't do that, the people will continue to suffer because you don't have a better policy coordination and you don't have a better planning system. And this country, the main challenge has been the planning system, where people do things anyhow. So, for instance, one of the key issues now is that, your food has been far away because of the way and manner in which the way we plan our cities.
Okay.
A lot of the cities that were supposed to be used for farmlands have been degraded and used for residential purposes, real estate and other things. You go to some communities where so many houses are built, people are not living in those houses. This is not how the Europeans and other people do. In fact, I was on a train from Aberdeen to Leicester. I was marveled by the way in which the whole place was organized in the UK. In fact, from Aberdeen to the next city is not too far, but I tell you, in between Aberdeen and the next city we went, there were no any houses there. Within a centralized location, all the planning system is done. They use a railway to connect them, buses to connect them. The planning is done, and the rest of the land was used for agricultural purposes. As we stand here in Accra, we are not supposed to have built some house along certain routes. Yet we have destroyed everywhere and used everywhere for farms. Where are you going to have access to food? When those farmlands were arable lands. So in the government policy not to be able to control urbanization has led to the critical problems that we are facing in terms of food security in the country. And if you come to Tamale here, where I'm sitting and having this conversation, you realize that, look, wherever I thought we shouldn't have built houses, the chiefs have sold the land to the people to build houses, when those lands are arable lands. You will notice that the rain pattern, the weather pattern, everything has changed. It is because of the urbanization. So government inability to do proper urbanization planning system is the problem. Look, University of Ghana used to have the Batuna area where they did the stadium for the All African Games. Those places were our farmlands. Go and see. The whole place has been sold to real estate. The trees, everything has been destroyed and houses have been put up there. You were in this country when people said that they have will Achimota forests with their nieces and nephews. You were in this country, you know that, you remember that?
Absolutely.
Yes. So if individual can buy Achimota forest and will it to their nieces and nephews, can you imagine what they can do to Batuna?
You mean Boteyman?
Boteyman, yeah.
That's right.
Boteyman.
Okay.
Yes, Boteyman, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Boteyman. So can you imagine what they can do to Boteyman? Boteyman is nothing if Achimota forest can away to anybody. So that is the problem. The government must wake up. You see, the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, they don't have to sleep. You see, when we talk about the climate change and all of that, we sing all kinds of songs. Climate change, ozone layer, what and what. It is our own attitude. When I was a child and living in Tamale or living in the village, I never saw a different patterns of weather. Of course, whenever you have population increasing, there is that increasing need for residential facilities. What planning should we do? So these are the things that we have to begin to think around to see what we can do, because you cannot become self-reliant in terms of your food production if you don't plan your cities and your communities very well. That is why we depend so much on imported food, when we could have done so in our local communities.
Z 101.9 FM.
Serious pressure on social protection system, because government is not able to put in place social protection system for the vulnerable. When you go, look, I continue to make that reference. In UK, where I was staying, closer to my residence, there were these big buildings, and those buildings were social houses that the state built for homeless people who were outside. They can go there to sleep. It's not that we lack the resources. It is that we lack the thinking and the capacity to do so. That is the problem of the country. So you can never be okay if you are not satisfied with even the food you prefer to eat. And all of us are victims. Sometimes you are holding the money, you cannot even get a better food to buy. You can't. So we need to begin to wake up. We need to begin to rethink and to replan so that we can have better, sustainable food system, so that we don't become more import dependent. And it is the import dependent that is making us so vulnerable to global price shocks.
You know, as I alluded to earlier, I mean, that's some bit of a double-edged kind of sword. I mean, when it is bad today, obviously it will go up. And when it is good, I think that we need to put in place the right measures to ensure that it stays down as well. But Doc, you seem to have pointed to some level of challenge at the doorstep of government, which probably is fundamentally speaking about planning and coordination. You talked about, affordable housing that would put people together. You've talked about the way probably our land planning system and utility, for development, for housing, for agriculture, for tourism and stuff like that. We haven't been able to do these things pretty well, and so we have suffered in that sector. What do you think are some of the things? I mean, this is where we find ourselves today. We can't go back yesterday and try to rewrite what was there. Today, we have the opportunity. What are some of the steps that you think we can look at? And then we'll come back to the issue of the climate again. Yesterday was 10th of February, and it rained. This morning, this very early morning, some parts of Accra, I'm not too sure what happened in Tamale, where you presently are.
Tamale is very hot. As I'm talking to you, I'm shirtless. So now you see, the point is that I think we have already destroyed most of our land.
Okay.
We can rewrite the story by not destroying more further land.
Okay.
What can government do? If the Minister of Works and Housing is listening, we can replan our cities. There is no need to go and say you are going to pick another place and plan it and make it a city or whatever it is. It's just waste of resources.
Okay.
Look at from Circle to Achimota. Okay. Both sides of the road. Do you know how many people we can redesign the homes there, and how many people that can contain? If you break all the buildings down and we redesign them along the route, maybe expand the route to contain the and design them along the route. Look, we are going to have a good market system. We are going to have a good water system. We are going to have a good sewage system. We are going to have a good waste management system because you control the area.
Okay. Doc, you talked about the Ministry of Works and Housing. I also know that even at the very local government level, there are the planners in the various MMDA systems. I mean, in the metropolis, you have the metropolitan planner, the municipality, you have the municipal planner, the district, you have the district planner, and all that. You find these technical people at the very low level of the government structure. And for that matter, you would have expected that some of these things you're talking about will start from there, even as the ministry level, who are the policy planners and stuff like that, But if you have these structures at the very base of local governance, why would we still be failing in these areas?
Well, we fail because we fail to plan. And the fact of the matter is that the so-called planners you see over there don't have the needed capacity. They are good planners, all right, but they don't have the capacity. And even if they plan and they don't have the resources to execute, how do they manage it?
No, but Doc, I'm not too sure whether I'm with you on that one. I mean, obviously, the structure is such that you pointed to the ministry, so there's a minister we used to have a minister for planning, but you just talked about the ministry for works and housing. Obviously, I mean, if we are planning, let's say, a community like Achimota, a community like Pokwase or whatever it is, I want to believe that these planners on the ground are the ones who will do the groundwork, and then it will climb up through the structure to get to the persons who have the power to say that, no, this particular area, is reserved for this particular activity, and for that matter, this cannot go in there. Sometimes we are tempted to say that it is the people at the top who probably are not, but aren't we, those of us also at the bottom of the ladder, not, being that professional as is expected of us?
No, because sometimes I also see that the clan system or the chieftaincy system that we have is not helping us. They can do the plan, but the people will come and distort the plan. Places where they are not supposed to have rezone and sell, the rezone and sell. Places where they have earmarked for markets, some family members will come and sell it. Places where they have earmarked for schools, some people will come and sell it. Places where they have earmarked for sporting activities, some people will come and sell it.
Doc, you are not suggesting that Ghana is some kind of, I'm not too sure whether a jungle would describe it properly enough, or something like a playground or something. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, our land ownership systems and structures, point to some of these things that you're talking about. But the local community has laws, that are governing it, isn't it? Where is this gap?
I don't want that. It's like we are delving more into the planning than the main factor of our conversation.
I agree with you, but it's also very, very critical. See, because if we plan very well, it will lead to solving the issues that we probably have, isn't it?
Problems. Yes, anyway, I have to bring that on board because in my thinking and reading, I thought that was even more concrete reason why we have the challenge we are having.
Okay.
Having gone around, I've seen things in South Africa, I've seen things in Kenya, I've seen things in Tanzania. I've seen things in Zimbabwe and all those places. And having seen the way people plan and the way we do things in Ghana, I see that we are completely lost.
We are completely lost. Doc, I mean, on the point of the climate change, you pointed to our rainfall patterns and all that. Some of these things also lead to some kind of post-harvest losses and stuff like that. What do you think is this thing about climate change and its impact on food prices?
But after the climate change, the urbanization has really destroyed. That's the main cause of our climate change problem.
Okay.
So if we do a centralized system where population is at one particular point and you leave the other areas, you will notice that you're going to have a lot of trees and other nature resources, and those trees can serve as carbon
credits. Yeah.
Carbon credits to us.
Yeah.
You can even sell it and make money. As a finance person, you can sell carbon credits and make money. Those countries that emit more, you trade off with the carbon. But we haven't been able to do that. If you go to Sweden, Sweden has been able to do that. Families own huge plantations and they make a lot of money out of it. The heart of environment is at Sweden. They do more of even environmental economics. They have environment for development. These are the things. Just look at what we do at our Galamsey side or our mining communities. We have removed all trees. We have destroyed everywhere because we want to dig gold. Will you have to dig gold at the expense of your life? These are the factors. Governments have come and people have promised a whole lot of good promises, yet we are not seeing the real issues on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to go to that area, but you know what I'm talking about.
I get it. And of course, we are all reminded on Z101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform on the Business Breakfast on Z, that when the last tree dies, the last man dies. Watch out what it is that you're doing at the expense of your own life. Do not contribute to food price increases as a result of your parochial interest in contributing to the climate change factors. Doc, let's come to transportation and distribution. Poor road infrastructure in the production areas. Sometimes when you have this, because of the nature of the roads in the area, transporters, commercial vehicles would say that, well, this area I will not go. And when, like you rightly described, when it becomes necessary, you have to go beg them. And for that matter, they would come at you with their own prices and stuff like that. Would you say that these challenges are also contributing to that of the increase in food prices that we're having?
I think we have rightly said that earlier. And I pointed out that the cost of transport is one of the key factors, and it's as a result of the bad nature of the roads that we have. But thankfully to the government of John Mahama, I think in the last budget that they read for this particular year, government is looking at working on agricultural enclave areas, about 1,000 kilometers of roads in that particular area. And the government says that they are going to invest about 828 million Ghana cedis to be able to provide that kind of infrastructure. So I think and I believe that if the big push is able to help in that direction, they're able to make that kind of investment, we are going to have a better outcome when it comes to the transport system. So that will help us to be able to increase our food buffer system.
Excellent.
Now, I think we spoke about the storage facilities that I spoke about.
Yes.
You know, and these are very important things that government will have to do.
Okay.
And I think that they are working to ensure that they have a farmer support system. And the government in the budget says they are allocating about 690 million cedis so that they can work on about 50 farm service centers. And that will be able to provide, and also provide about 4,000 machinery to support farmers. So when all of these are happening, I think that food production is going to increase. And when food production increases, definitely prices are going to come down.
Okay.
So I just hope and believe that there is a difference between allocating the budget, making the provision in the budget, and the actual spending in the budget. Will the government be able to raise the funds to be able to do what they think they have to do?
Okay.
That should be the question. And if government is able to do so, it's my conviction that we're going to have a better outcome when it comes to the food production. And that is more likely to bring down price.
Excellent.
But they should go back and do the planning work.
Okay.
I continue to emphasize on that.
Planning is very key to this, and I can't agree with you more. Doc, let's look at the role of middlemen, market speculation. Of course, you spoke about, the price regulation regime and all that earlier. But the role of middlemen, sometimes based on market speculation and stuff like that, how do these also, influence the price of food?
Definitely. You see, the food at the farm gate is comparatively lower as compared to what we see in the market. And in fact, the people who sell the final product even sometimes makes money more than the farmer who produces the food. Look, currently, maize is trading at 250 Ghana cedis in Tamale. Let's assume that someone buys the 250 cedis in Tamale and transports the maize to Accra at a cost of 70 Ghana cedis. Let's put it back. So if you add it, that's like 320 cedis, right? at least if you have to sell at all, just sell it at, let's say, it's 400 cedis. But you will see the person pricing it at 600 cedis, 650 cedis, 700 cedis. That is an absurdity in the highest order and abnormal. If you have a control system, who dare you to do that? So when the middle people want to exploit the ordinary people and the farmer over profiteering, it leads to some of the hike in the prices that we see. And in the long run, you don't see the real value of the money that you have in your pocket. Because, like I said from the beginning, food is an autonomous consumption. Whether you like it or not, you have to consume food. So, as a matter of fact, I reiterate that the government must wake up when it comes to the centralized control system. They must wake up and think something out.
A wake-up call to government to sit up, get into the nitty-gritties. Let's do a little more planning. Let's do a little more coordination. Let's do a little more of forward thinking just so that we can have food prices at the right price, not unduly low, such that the producers will get disincentivized, but also not unduly high, especially when all the factors are pointing to a situation where we must have some reduction in the price. This is the Business Breakfast on ZBBZ on Z 101.9 FM, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, it's at ZFMGH, and on YouTube, it's at Z Multimedia. You can send in your comments via WhatsApp through 0544 321 019. And you can join us on Instagram and X at ZFMGH, and on TikTok, it's Z Multimedia. A few comments coming in. One from Yaira Kojo Tete, who says, I am enjoying the conversation. Not too sure which of the conversations you're enjoying. We've had several segments, and so you'd want to be a little specific with what kind of comment that you're enjoying. Same from Yaira Kojo Tete. He says that some market women are very wicked and want as high as 100% profit. I believe Dr. Jabir is listening and probably would react to that. The wicked market women would have to find out if this is true. I think the production team will probably do as a world of good by going out there onto the grounds and find out how things are doing there. Well, Tete Nate is also showing some fiery things there. He says, well, Zed, it's going all good. Theophilus King says, I am really learning a lot this morning. Is it about the food prices? Is it about, the MPI report, which is out from the Ghana Statistical Service? It's 51 minutes gone past the hour of 9, and we are looking at the factors that impact on food prices. And Dr. Jabir Mohammed, Senior Finance and Economics Lecturer from the University of Ghana Business School, today as I speak with you, cooling off in Tamale in heat. He tells me he's shirtless. Doc, we'll be coming back to you with a video camera just to see the environment in which you are and how you're enjoying your environment. But until we get to that point, continue to share with us, the role of the market structure and the pricing behavior. We've talked about the middlemen, and you have also alluded to the prices that are paid to farmers. Even though very low, you have middlemen doing all kinds of things to get them enrich themselves. Doc, how does population growth and urbanization, I think you have spoken about that already, but let's look at that of insecurity, theft, and losses along the food supply chain. How does these contribute to higher food prices? I'm talking about insecurity, talking about theft, and losses along the food supply chain. Doc.
Some of the places that we spoke about, the storage facilities, etc. When you have storage facilities, you also have facilities that you can use to refine the food product. Timely, then you are more likely not to have more losses. But the more you don't have some of these things in place, the more your cost of production. Look, yesterday I was having a conversation with a friend who farm yam, and he told me that he plants 100 tubers of yam, and out of that 100 tubers of yam, because of the heat, 40 or 50, well, he gets like 40 or 50% correct on the field. So then I asked him, so what can we do so that we can lower the cost of loss anytime you have some of these things? I said, look, there's nothing I can do. This is climate change. These are things that are weather conditions. The place is just too hot. But the best thing to do is to have, then I asked him that, can't we, you have a yam farm close to 20 acres. Around that area, don't you have a water table where you can have a borehole so that when you plant, we water it? Because when we do that, you are able to lower the rate at which you have those losses. So these are the mechanisms. So when the farmer, all these losses that comes in, the farmer is going to add it to the final product and sell it to the final consumer.
Okay.
And that is going to increase the price of the food.
Two critical factors here. I mean, access to finance is always been identified as a contributory factor there. And then lately, the issue about the application of technology to our farming and agricultural practices. How would these two factors also contribute to increase in food prices?
No, there's this organization called GIRSAL, GIRSAL. It's an agricultural, it's a government organization that supports farmers, etc. I remember when we had the economic dialogue series in February last year, the governor of Bank of Ghana was of the opinion that we do not want to, the banks were supposed to have, they were putting some amount of money. When we have excess liquidity, the Bank of Ghana increased the reserve requirement ratio and make provision that certain amount of money was to be reserved compulsorily by the commercial banks. The commercial banks were keeping that money. And the governor says that there is a need to release the money back to the commercial banks. But he doesn't want to pass it back to them because it's going to be more inflationary. So he was thinking that that amount of money can be channeled through the child to make the child more liquid so that they can extend more agricultural credit to people who want to farm in certain communities, etc. So these are the avenues. So the central bank itself can create something out that can support farmers. And that was a very brilliant creation system that the governor was thinking about. I don't know how far with that policy, whether the government has been able to achieve that or not. And if you look at the NDC manifesto, I think they had very brilliant ideas when it comes to the farming and how they wanted to do certain things. So, for instance, there's something called the oil palm development that they want to do in this year budget. And they have earmarked about 6.9 billion Ghana cedis for the national policy on integrated oil palm development. And they want to do about 100,000 hectares of oil palm. And that is what is going to translate to about 250,000 jobs. So these are job creation. So these are sources of financing that they can have. And the farmer support system I spoke about earlier on. Then also the food buffer system, etc. And also the fact that they want to work on agriculture and livestock.
Okay.
So agriculture alone, government is spending about 100 million Ghana cedis. Livestock is about 245 million Ghana cedis. So these are avenues that farmers can have access to the financing so that it can help them. especially the machinery. These are the things that farmers need. So once that machineries are provided, but of course, it should not just be like government is providing, they provide and go and sleep somewhere. When they do that and they are not able to recoup the investment back, they cannot work on future programs.
Okay.
So these are the things that the government have to do. What are the mechanisms can you put in place to recoup the investment back? It's a grant you are giving them, but it has the payback. If it doesn't have a payback, what is the plan of the farmers to scale up so that they can employ more people, so that government can make money through taxes, be able to pay the grant that government is doing?
Yes, Doc, I think that you probably should be wrapping up because we are just almost on the top of the hour. And
to wrap up,
yes,
to be able to get all these integrated systems in place, there should be a very robust IT infrastructure that will disseminate information and have farmer-based information.
Okay.
If you go to Nigeria, they have that for their rice farmers, and the Nigerian government benefited a lot. So because of that, local production of rice, poultry, and other products, they were not even importing anymore. So we can leverage on IT, AI to be able to retool the sector of the agricultural sector.
Absolutely.
And make it much more vibrant so that at the end of the day, the people will be the end beneficiary, which means that prices is going to reflect in the price of goods, the agricultural product or food.
Let us leverage on IT. Let government do some integrated approach here. Planning will be fundamental and key. And of course, at the end of the day, Ghana shall have food and have it in abundance. Thank you is what Z Multimedia says to you. Dr. Jabir Mohammed, Senior Finance and Economics Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School, for contributing to the debate this morning. What factors affect food prices in Ghana? We have all that it takes, and let Ghana hear what is said on Z 101.9 FM. A few comments here, and we're drawing the curtains down this morning. And this comes from Edujemfi Esther, and she says, thank you, Z, for the wonderful job that you're doing for Mother Ghana. Caleb and we say, hey, Charlie Ghana. Are we going to always stay behind and watch other countries progress while we retrogress? This is a no-no for the Republic of Ghana. And that's how we draw the curtains down this morning on the Business Breakfast on Z. On behalf of the technical crew and the production team, it's been a wonderful morning. And you, dear listener out there, I believe that you have enjoyed it. Up next is The Brighter Side, and that is coming from Jeremy Okorie. Jeremy Okorie Amwakon is coming to your studio shortly with The Brighter Side. Until